TikTok's algorithm is a sophisticated reflector and amplifier of your individual mindset, as well as the minds of its 1.6 billion users. And understanding this reveals for you, me, and all of us the reason you likely are dealing with an unprecedented amount of judgment, unfairness, and bullheadedness nowadays, with this causing so much of the tension, arguments, and personality conflicts in your personal and professional relationships. What prompted this revelation may at first seem unrelated, but if you give me a minute to explain, it may just provide the epiphany you've been looking for to restore your peace of mind and possibly save any of your most precious relationships that are on the rocks. That revelation came when I released a video about a week ago on TikTok that so far has received 1.1 million views. I followed it up a day later with a video that took a slightly different slant on the same subject. It only has received 49,000 views. While that number of views is normally a very good day at the office, I was extremely surprised with the discrepancy. In the past, when I've done series like this, often my subsequent videos would perform even better than the first, or at least still receive hundreds of thousands of views, such as in this previous series. So what caused the sudden drop-off in my latest series from 1.1 million views to 49,000 views? In the first video, I shared how there was just one single person who could sleep well at night after the tragic implosion of the OceanGate submersible this past month. That person was an engineer named David Lockridge. Lockridge was fired by OceanGate in 2018 after reporting alarming flaws in the submersible's design. He had spoken his truth, and despite paying the price with his job, he had a clear conscience, compared to so many others at OceanGate who have the rest of their lives to ceaselessly question themselves. In my second video, I was fascinated to explore the mind of Stockton Rush, the infamous CEO of OceanGate, who had seemed to ignore all warnings and went so far as to join his 4 super wealthy passengers in their tragic journey to visit the Titanic at 3,800 meters beneath the surface of the ocean. Much to my amazement, upon doing research for the second video, Stockton Rush didn't seem quite as crazy as the initial impression I portrayed of him in my first video. Now, despite new evidence that supports my portrayal in the first video,
David Lockridge, who was a former OceanGate employee who claims that he was wrongfully terminated for raising red flags, once sent an ominous email writing, "That sub is an accident waiting to happen." He also added this about then CEO Stockton Rush. He said, "I don't want to be seen as a tattletale, but I'm worried he kills himself and others in a quest to boost his ego."
In the second video, I nevertheless talked about the more than 50 test dives Rush had to document with the government, and about the 10 to 20 successful previous trips to the Titanic he took without incident. I thus excitedly published a second video within 24 hours of the first one, confidently expecting another viral video, as has consistently happened in my previous series. However, much to my dismay, the second video only has had about 1/20th the views of the first video. And the almost 3,000 glowing comments I received in that first video was replaced by a mere 149 comments in the second, many of which were very negative. And that's when I finally figured out the mystery's extraordinary solution. This reason, affecting all your relationships and mine, is the same reason why in our country right now, if you want to stand a hope in heaven of remaining on speaking terms with a friend, relative, or coworker of the opposite political party than yours, you best talk about anything other than politics. No matter how open-minded people claim to be, including you and me, none of us like to hear viewpoints that contradict things that we have any strong emotional attachment to. This is the definition of confirmation bias. While in the case of the submersible, there definitely was cause for criticism of CEO Stockton Rush, many people simply aren't willing to even consider a viewpoint that makes them take a second look. Isn't this the same problem you may be facing in one or more of your personal or professional relationships? Someone getting so locked into something they believe you said or did, you can't even get them to consider another possibility. And the social media echo chamber of you, me, and the entire world getting fed more and more information supporting our limited belief systems only entrenches us deeper and deeper in what often is a mistaken perception to begin with. A 2018 MIT research paper published in Science found that false news, which tends to be far more negative and alarming news, such as found in conspiracy theories, travel 6 times quicker on social media than the truth. In other words, with my own 2 videos on the submersible tragedy, people tended to be more attracted to the video that supported their negative viewpoint about OceanGate's CEO, Stockton Rush, rather than the one that showed a slightly more positive slant. And they didn't like to have to adjust their negative opinion once it was created. Thus the likely reason for my second video getting 1/20th the views compared to my first one. And thus the reason why, in avoiding and resolving conflicts in your own relationships, the key is not to hit the other person over the head with the 2x4 of your viewpoint, but rather to speak your truth in a manner that takes into consideration their perception first, aims to understand their perspective, values their point of view, respects their feelings and opinions, and promotes open dialogue and mutual understanding. And that's the way you effectively speak your truth, in a way that restores harmony to your fractured relationships by aligning yourself with the highest truth.